Well, see how well this works. Evening, everyone, or day, or whatever time of day it is, wherever you might be. As you can see, this is kind of a weird angle. I learned an interesting lesson this evening about messing with my computer when I've got stuff to do on it. I was trying to set up a virtual camera on OBS earlier and ended up creating all kinds of kernel panics and stuff on it. So we are trying to stream just straight from my phone. See how it works. I actually hooked up my hardwired lav. Hopefully the audio is good. I don't know that I've ever done this from the front camera. Let me see if I can turn on. Look at that. Is that box open source? There's Eddie. Chris, every time I see you, man, you're always watching some Tom Petty, it seems. Or is the box open source? It is not open source. It is like a. There'll be a freemium version, Eddie, I suppose, if we want to go along that that paradigm. So I've cleaned off all the printer built stuff for the time being because I had to get some tweaks done for the box, which we're hoping to go start production at the end of the week. Travis and I are feverishly making some changes. Yeah, freemium. Yeah, so what I mean by that, Dustin, is that we're gonna do a 3D printed version that will work with my smaller 250 gram spools, and you can print it on a CR10 style. So it obviously doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the main one, but it's we wanted to have some sort of homage to the RepRap movement and some option to people that wanted to just kind of see what it was all about. So now that we're kind of finishing and have a lock on the actual dimensions and stuff, we'll get that printed version out in the coming weeks. Cool, man. I like you. I know you've got a couple of those 250 gram spools, right, Dustin? I know you did some awesome photography for me with them. So you're gonna have to forgive me if I don't see your guys' chat because it's kind of hard to read the tiny screen. Maybe I can see if I can get you guys a little closer. Yeah, you know what? That's always the sign. That's always the sign of a good thing, right? If it starts to get copied. And I've had a lot of people ask me, "Are you going to patent something like this?" Well, one, I don't think it really qualifies for a patent. I mean, maybe you could make the argument, but as far as the uniqueness goes and stuff, and I'd rather focus on innovation than actual worrying about protecting and defending a patent on a product like this. But anyway, so just as an update from like where we've come, I think we're on prototype probably like 15 or 16 at this point, and it's come a long way since the original. Thanks, Eddie. I'm glad we did it too. It's come a long way since we originally came up with the concept. When we took the box to IRF, we got just a lot of amazing feedback. Some of the stuff we'd kind of already known about, some of the feedback we hadn't considered. So I wish I could grab my laptop for chat, Chris. I was saying when I started, I killed my laptop earlier, and it's in the middle of an 8-hour OS restore right now, which is unfortunate. I was trying to load virtual camera for OBS, and I made the mistake of not reading that the software that I compiled. I just looked at it. I was talking to Eddie about this earlier. Is not compatible with the latest version, so I went and compiled it and installed it, and it ended up like causing kernel panics and stuff. And so I spent like an hour digging around trying to remove kexts and all this stuff, and finally I just said, screw it, I'm just going to restore from a time machine backup. But, hey Ben, good to see you, buddy. Ben, I caught your vlog the other day. Man, that was a heck of a care package you got You must have some good friends over there at ColorFab sending you all those goodies, eh? Awesome. Well, hey, obviously we got a lot of people out and about looking for things to do. So to go back to the box, I think you notice I've got all my great handy dandy sawdust. I was doing some drilling, just adjusting some holes and stuff like that. So what I was saying was originally when we'd like launched this thing or at IRF, we had kind of a release candidate and started taking pre-sales, and it was really just basically a box with a an acrylic front that flipped open, and everybody. And while we did a good job of trying to keep it sealed and whatnot, like the goal originally wasn't to create like this airtight dry box, despite how much everybody seems to want or think they want that. We did design it so that it doesn't have standard nut traps holding it together, as few penetrations into the sides of the box and stuff like that. Will I ship it to the UK? Maybe eventually. We got to first get our distribution figured out in the US. So we started off with that, and a lot of people were like, oh well, I live in Houston or I live in Florida, somewhere that I can't, I don't want to risk leaving my filament exposed to the elements. So let me know when you have a sealed version. And so we've been working really hard developing like a sealing kit. And what I mean by that is the base model is basically the box. It's still fully enclosed, has the lid stay and the magnetic front and stuff, and it's all in pieces and stuff right now. But to give you a sense of it, the concept was always we wanted something that was wall mountable, that we could put up above a printer, and basically feed filament to a printer, multiple printers, a multi-material style printer, without interrupting spools. So if we wanted to reload spools, we wanted them all spin independently. We wanted them to basically be able to be loaded and reloaded without disrupting the other ones. And basically just something that was kind of nice and presentable and fit on a wall. So that, the first version was born, and we had kind of a rail system originally for these rollers to ride on, and we've actually gone away from the rollers. We've gone away from the rails, and we've kind of created a track system now. And I don't know, you're not going to see too much detail with as far back as I've got, but and then we combined our rollers into multiple sets so that we could get a little bit of a tighter fit. For if you're stacking more spools and stuff in there. So I have an 8 pack that goes in there. Don't the nozzles being like that cause filament? It went away. How do I see that again? Get back. Chat. Let's say cause filament hangs. So I'm not sure what you mean by that, Eddie. Like filament hangs, like causing it to bind on it and stuff like that. I don't have the Bowden tube inserted in it right now, too, so I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to. If I think it's what you mean. Like I think you're worried that it might snag on the metal parts or something as it's going through. If that's what you meant. Yeah, so this is actually, these connectors are designed so that Bowden passes through them. Bowden tubing, the PTFE tubing, I call it Bowden tubing, whatever. And basically it feeds up, and you can either feed it from underneath or on top. And there's no point that the filament's actually in contact with any metal piece where it's going to like create a lot of friction. It basically goes straight into the PTFE tubing, and then you can direct it off to a printer. You can just have it run out in the way. I mean, there's any number of options, but basically these are your standard PC4M6 pneumatic connectors that most of the RepRap style printers use for Bowden tubing and stuff like that. And we're putting together. Hey, Rover, morning. We're putting together a 3mm kit as well. So I was starting to say earlier, we're trying to design it to be modular. Any plans for a reverse version? The Bowden tubes at the top. Not as of yet, but I'm certainly open to the suggestion. Plan being, we want it to be modular. We wanted it to be an affordable entry point. If you live in an environment where you're not concerned with the humidity and stuff like that, and you just wanted something that was nice and organized, or a better option for feeding multiple printers or an MMU unit, then the base box will do all of that. And the base box by itself is actually very well, I don't want to say sealed, but it does very well. And we've actually implemented some interesting improvement. Yep, 175 and 3mm at the same time. It's just a matter of changing out the connectors. So there's these are PC4M6 for a standard 4mm outer diameter PTFE tube. I also have what is it, the PC1s or whatever, that'll take like a 6mm one. Thanks, man. We're really excited about it. I know that like we haven't been doing good at putting together marketing material and photography because it's just been the like last thing we're working on because we're feverishly trying to improve on the product. But so the modular system is designed to be the base box, and then if you want to get the sealing kit because you live in a more humid environment, we've done a lot of work on developing that. Basically, the hinge is now a living hinge as opposed to before where we had it kind of cut into the side panel and kind of hinging on the acrylic. One, that was creating a weak point, a potential for breakage. And two, it was another penetration into the box that we didn't want to allow, the atmosphere in with. So we sourced some marine grade clear vinyl here that actually bolts together, and you'll have to forgive me, this is of course a prototype, so there's the acrylic's all scratched up and all that stuff, but basically this sandwiches in here like this, and the hinge is actually really robust. This is 30 they call it 30 mil. The way they measure vinyl sheets is not quite the same mil that you're used to with plastic, even like plastic bags and stuff like that. 30 mil in the vinyl world actually means 0.03 inches. And we started with, we tried everything from like 8 mil up, but I really didn't want, I wanted the thing to be robust. Also, like when it heats up, it kind of stretches and stuff, and so the thinner the vinyl is, the more subject it is to kind of sag, which isn't a terrible deal because it's like we're not talking about that much of it. But yes, it is. And I actually sourced 40 mil as well. The 40 seemed like overkill, but it is, like I said, it's marine grade vinyl. So it's a living hinge. It's going to be open and closed a whole bunch of times. And the last thing I want is for it to like just wear out prematurely for people. So given that we're not using a whole lot of it, you can see though that the advantage of going to a living hinge now is that we don't have the crack at the at the seam anymore. And so we've got that going here, and the same thing is going on down here. I don't have it installed yet, but basically the faceplate, what we call the faceplate here, will flip down. And the purpose of this, and it's just on magnetic catches, is to make it easier to load your stuff. And so what I'm going to do tonight is I'm actually going to start putting this kind of together, and you'll see like how the lid stay actually holds it up. So we reconfigured the lid stay so that it basically holds it open a lot more, makes it a lot easier to load and unload from a desktop configuration or from wall mount configuration. We moved the entry points or the exit points for the filament too, so they were a little higher, so it was a little bit easier to load. And the vinyl down here at the base plate actually carries all the way through to the bottom here, so that this joint down here is completely sealed. The joint here where this plate flips down is actually completely sealed. And then if you have the seal kit, so that the vinyl hinging and stuff is part of the stock model now. And then if you have the seal kit, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is automotive grade EDPM rubber. So this is like the gasket that you see on your car door, on any automotive or vehicle type setting and stuff. This is incredibly heavy gauge stuff and robust as well. And so your faceplate's a little bit different with the sealing kit. We're making it so that you can actually buy the kit after the fact. So you can certainly try it out with just the base box and see if it seals well enough for your environment. I still don't have numbers yet because we like literally just put this kit together like 2 days ago, or basically we finished like kind of sourcing and getting like what we're comfortable with releasing and whatnot. So anyway, the same sealing is on the side. So this strip that's here and here comes as part of the sealing kit. We're also releasing it with just a small tube of silicone. This, in my opinion, is just complete overkill, but I think for people that are really, really wanting something that's as airtight as possible, one of the advantages of removing the rails is that we now have an open box on the inside, and you can see like there's no penetrations on the inside of this here. But if you're really worried about it, it's just a squeezable tube of silicone, and you can just run beads along these joints and stuff here. And I'm not going to market the thing as a dry box, but it's pretty dang close. I'd be interesting to see, given that this is MDF, there is a porousness, to the material. So, I wouldn't want to market it as a dry box necessarily, but I think for all intents and purposes, it's going to get you where you need to be. Ben, I would absolutely, if you wanna order one, I will find a way to get it to you, and we'll talk about what that is, because I know it's not terribly practical to ship across the pond, but it might not actually be too bad. It's designed to flat pack. It's a kit, so it's all laser cut and kitted together stuff. It really doesn't take that long to assemble. It takes a little longer to assemble than the original one with the rail configuration. Because we've gone to kind of some different bracketing to kind of try to keep everything snug. So we do have a couple 3D printed parts on it now. Most notably the L brackets here that are holding the side panel on, and then we have like a kind of a triple bracket that you see for like a corner mount. And so like that's the kind of the details we're like locking in right now. It's pretty solid. It's come a long way, and I'm just really excited to actually get this thing out into people's hands and start to see reviews. We've already been contacted by a bunch of maker spaces, by a school. We're setting up bulk discounting because for a lot of these maker spaces and schools, they're like, this is great. We have no good storage solution. And the only other options, are multi-$100, things. They're not really options. So hopefully we found a nice little niche. So what I wanted to show you was here, the way that this seals on the face. The other thing that you're getting with the sealing kit that doesn't necessarily come with the base kit is the latching mechanism. So we're actually gonna just include an actual locking mechanism, so that if you're at like a school or a public library environment, you have the option to kind of secure your filament, just to keep hands from grabby people off of them. We're still debating the configuration, whether we want to put it left or right, because it's getting a little crowded over here with the lid stay. But given that we're right-handed people and stuff like that, we always like having it right-handed. Also, we've offset the handle to the left here. Again, just because we like just kind of the aesthetic that created, and it also allowed for us to get more sheets of acrylic out of one laser cut too. So it kind of creates an interesting appearance that way. So this is going to be basically our V1 production model. It will still come with the steel side panels that are customizable. Right now I think we have like 18 different designs to choose from on top of just the standard rep cord. We also offer customization, so if you want to put your logo on there or a picture of your cat or whatever it might be, you can certainly do that. So yeah, so that's where we're at. So I'm gonna great price. Shipping will be a lot, but looks great. Well, my hope, Ben, is that if this thing gets big enough, then we can start looking at doing some distribution in Europe. Obviously, that's going to make it a lot more accessible to more markets. But I am small potatoes right now, and I'm not geared up for that kind of stuff. So this is what I was saying. Like the roller configuration, we kind of changed it up a little. These are based on the very common Tushy style, rollers. We kind of tweaked the spacing a little bit so that they would accommodate. Awesome, Ben. Yeah, let's talk offline on that. I would love to chat about that. We adjust the spacing a little bit so that it could accommodate both the kind of more standard 8-inch flange and the smaller 6-inch spools that I sell. So it's compatible with that. Originally, I designed like kind of a wider roller because I wanted it to be compatible with my kind of open air racking system that I use. So prior to like Joel doing his thing, my design was like to use steel pipe to go across, and it's basically it doesn't have to be supported across, almost like 8-foot lengths, probably more if I use thicker. So I originally kind of had the idea that I wanted these to sit on rails because I wanted it to work on those that open air pipe system that I use and love. But ultimately, I think for this box, we're a lot happier with the track system because it basically frees up some space and kind of allows it to more easily. We were able to lower the rollers, which gave us more clearance to like load stuff in and out. Not that it was terrible before, but I mean, there's probably a good, extra, 2 inches on the top there that just makes it easier to get stuff in and out of. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm just playing around with kind of the acrylic mount. I need to get the measurements right for my my latch so that I can get the printed part that's going to basically pull the latch tighter as it closes so that it creates a good seal around the seal kit here. If you're getting just the base box version, these sealing pieces won't be here. This is just going to be. We tried to make the kit so that it's, like I said, it's easily upgraded after the fact. So there's just some 3D printed standoffs here that kind of position everything in the same space. But you can easily pull those out and replace it with this, what we're calling the sealing bar, on the sealed version here. And I think it's going to be interesting once I get some numbers around just like how well it does if you just throw a bag desiccant in there without the sealing kit. With I think it's always probably better to have more sealing. But Eddie, if you're still watching, I know you were really gung ho because you're in a very humid environment to make sure that you had the best seals possible. So we did a lot of this with you in mind. I didn't see the niche use cases. I'll have to look back on the thing. Hey Jeff, how you doing, man? Awesome. Thanks for joining me, guys. Hope everybody's having a good night. I was kind of pumped after seeing Joel's stream. Checking out that CRX. I actually got to talk to the Creality people briefly at IRF. They kind of surprised everybody by showing up. It was a neat neat surprise, but they came by the booth and we had just a CR10 going, showing off. We had a pallet, so basically we had the RepBox feeding a pallet, which was printing on a CR10, and so they saw that and came over and started telling us about the CRX and some of the other stuff that they're working on. So that was kind of cool. Oh, the jumbo roll holder? Yeah, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because I was talking to Sean over at IC3D just today about that. They want me to do a setup for their 5-pounders and then maybe their mega rolls down the road. I think that'd be a fun. I don't know how practical that actually is, but I think it'd be a fun, just little project. I think I'll probably just start with like using some big bushings and creating kind of some giant floor-based rollers and stuff. But you give yourself a quite a backache, probably trying to move those things around. But man, wouldn't that be cool? Like one of the things I want to do is now that I got the printer belt, well, I have the printer belt. It's not fully assembled and running yet. Hopefully, we'll get to spend a little more time on that a little later this week. But I thought it would be really cool if I could feed as much filament as possible into a pallet and then just have it like splice stuff together. So it could be like all black or whatever, but you just have it set so that it's splicing stuff together. So basically you've got 4 inputs for a pallet. So if I was able to get 10 kilo spools feeding a pallet that was basically stitching them all together for me and then feeding that into the printer belt, I want to know how long I could consecutively print for with that supply of filament. I suspect for quite some time. I'm sure it depends on what you're printing. But I know Joel was joking. I don't know, maybe he's not. Like if he actually does that, it'd be awesome. But printing ground molding on the printer belt, I don't see why you couldn't. But 3D printed molding, I mean, a lot of molding is like made out of PVC and stuff these days. So thermoplastic molding is not really anything new. But that'd be pretty amazing if you could just create this just endless. You'd be limited by the physical space. Obviously, you have like these rollers and stuff. So at some point, you would need to like have a seam so that it could like fall off and keep feeding stuff. But yeah. Yeah, you'd be printing for like weeks at a time. But for something like these little 3D printed parts that we're hoping to use for production, so these L brackets and the corner brackets and stuff like that, I mean, how awesome is it going to be able to just like create a little belt farm that can just spit these things out into a bucket? So we tried to design these so that we could use as many of the same parts as possible on all sides, so they're unidirectional. So the L brackets that are down here and up here are basically the same, and the corner brackets are going to be the same. So it would be cool if we could, get 2 lines going. But honestly, the thing's going to crank these things out probably way faster than we're going to need them. But hey, why not, get them all queued up. I said custom outside earlier. How custom would it be? Let me read that again. Unfortunately, on this mobile interface, like it doesn't give me that long to excuse me, I sneeze. Let's see. If we had one side, come back. I think I just can like tap it and it'll show back up, right? Come on. What's up with that? I really wanted to read your comment there, Jeff. Let's see. Oh, custom outside earlier. How custom would it have to be if one side of your logo and one of your own? Yeah, I mean, right. So right now, like it's like we just offer. It's like $15 for custom steel sublimated plates, and we're just kind of letting people do what they want to do. So there's a template, and if you wanted to do like one on one side and one on the other, like it doesn't matter to us really. Like it's just a matter of taking the time to like load it into the software and set up the sublimator. So yeah, you can do one side one way and one on the other, or you could take a stock selection on one and the other. But basically, if we have to take the time to do any customization, it's not like we're doing like $750 for just one side, because basically it's just we're not really charging for material. It's just the setup and labor time to do that. So and that's really just kind of meant to be a little fun thing. Well, let's see if I actually can get anything done. So my what I'm working on now is had to kind of configure where some of these clamping holes and stuff were going to be, and I'm going to feed the nylon through here. Should probably vacuum this thing out. I was drilling this for this hinge here, but I'll basically set the living hinge for the bottom piece and then drill the holes so that the connectors and stuff can feed through. And I'll grab some of that. Here, I'll just grab some of that now so you can kind of see what it's like. The PTFE tube. And I've actually been using this stuff called FEP, which is like clearer, which we really liked for the acrylic version. and it just kind of shows a little bit nicer. But because, you know, heat's not as big of a consideration, and it's fine. It's basically very, very similar in its thermal properties to PTFE. It's certainly no cap tube, but you know, it kind of lets you see the filament a little bit better. But Eddie, you can see here, like this is just a pass-through connector, and so you can run this up to however you need, you know. But really, we just find like we just feed it through enough so that we don't get any hang up on there, and we're good to go. So unfortunately, like it won't let me like turn my camera to like read the chat like vertically, so it's basically just kind of shows chat flipping onto the screen and then fading away rather quickly. So sorry if I miss your commentary. I'll go back through everything at the end, and maybe I'll try to respond to you guys if you had specific questions offline. All right, so where's my handy dandy thing? So yeah, what I was saying is like kind of when we sourced like these magnets and stuff came with certain kind of catches, and we realized like, hey, these are a little bit too big, and we want to move these here. So you know, the whole thing's an interesting practice in kind of production design. All of the products that I've done so far have been just kind of like a branded, you know, thing, nothing that's been like an actual custom built project. So it's like this just kind of thing just gives me so much respect for people that build and sell printers, because we're just trying to make a box here, I keep saying. And just the amount of detail that goes into this, you know, it just pales in comparison to like what you have to deal with when you're getting like electronics involved and mechanical, you know, more mechanical things and whatnot involved. So, you know, I don't know that anybody that's putting this thing together will kind of appreciate like the amount of thought that's actually gone into the placement of each of the screws and stuff along the way. But thanks for stopping by, Jeff. But you know, I know, I know how much I've thought and like having to say, you know what? Oh, you know, instead of using a 20 millimeter long screw there, I want to use a, you know, 16, or instead of using the Nylox. So I really like Nylox because, you know, we don't have to use a separate lock washer, and I don't want stuff backing out over time. Not that these things are really being rattled and whatnot, but it's just, you know, it's just kind of a level of quality that I feel like is a little bit better. I like the button head, you know, stuff. I try to be consistent with those all the way across because the button heads use a different size tool. So we included a, you know, an Allen key that basically works on all these. They're all M3 style, M3 sizing, with the exception. Oh no, with no exception now. Everything I think is M3 at this point. The exception would be for the wall mounting kit for the French cleat. There's like a wood lath screw that drills into the side and back just to make that extra secure. But this is just a piece of pine, and actually the production one's going to be poplar because it's just more consistent and straight and easier to cut and a little bit nicer than hardwood. All right, good night, Dustin. Thanks for stopping by, man. It's good to see you. Good to see you tonight. Hope you had a good night. Appreciate you guys coming by. And I get it. It's late. I want to go to bed myself, hopefully soon, but I just want to get some of this stuff done. So I figured, hey, I might as well do a little streaming, a little chatting and hanging out while I'm at it. One of the downsides of working from home is that you don't always have the water cooler conversation that you get at work. So you go a little bit stir crazy having nobody to talk to. So I get to talk to a camera and answer chat and stuff. That's not entirely true. Actually, for the web development work I do, I travel a good amount to clients. I'll put some, you know, one to put FaceTime in, and two just to kind of get a change of scene. Some days I'll even just go down to a Starbucks or whatever so that I get a change of scene, something like that. So you can see, like, this is the part of the seal kit, some of the secret sauce. This is pretty hefty stuff. And it does have like an adhesive backing to it as well, but I didn't take that off while I was kind of trying to place everything. So on the standard version, it'll basically just be a sandwiched piece like that with the nylon living hinge and whatnot, and then the lid just kind of rests on the edge of the MDF. And again, you know, if you live in a spot where that's adequate, cool. If you want to go down to, you know, I'm not gonna try to undercut myself, but you know, this is kind of the maker world, and you know, people come up with their own stuff. If you want to try to find your own weather stripping and stuff to use, like, I know people are going to do that. I don't have a problem with it. It's all good. So the fun part is the thing I'm working on kind of right now for production is jigging I'm trying to come up with tooling for cutting the nylon strips in a practical manner. So you know, you certainly can like lay this stuff out and, you know, just cut it with a razor knife, but obviously when you're starting to make, you know, tens to hundreds of these, I mean, this is the thing too. It's not our plan to, you know, be custom building all of these. We're wanting to test the market, see how much demand there is. I mean, right now we're pretty hopeful. We're pretty confident that the demand is there. So the name of the game is going to be figuring out how to like get this thing mass produced in an efficient manner. But for the first, you know, couple hundred or so, we're you know, laser cutting everything. And we just run batches, and then we're basically spend a day kitting a bunch of stuff and unboxing and shipping out. We've been lucky enough to kind of have some help, but you know, hopefully it grows to a point where we can start outsourcing, you know, some of that, and you know, see how it goes. But anyway, to get back to the vinyl piece, getting the piece cut and ready. I'm kind of creating a neat little jig so that it sandwiches the vinyl. You basically just kind of cut around it and then punch holes in the middle. And you know, for for those of you out there, I'm like, well, that seems like probably a lot of work to begin with. Yeah, it takes like you know, couple seconds really. It's not terrible, but ultimately we want to you know, have it professionally vinyl cut. But the vinyl cutters that, you know, we're all used to is like not really designed to handle like 30 mil stuff. So there, you know, there is more industrial stuff out there, obviously, that do, you know, stuff for marine application, and you know, creating the parts for, like, if you have a convertible, you know, the windows or the back window is oftentimes this heavy grade vinyl stuff. So there's certainly tooling for it out there, but it's just a question of what's going to be practical. And we're still working on that stuff too. So hopefully, like I said, once we get the design all locked in and the first one's out under our belt, it'll be easier for us to start looking more at optimizing, learning a lot of interesting lessons about production design and all that stuff. So right now, this is just kind of rough. I'm all cutting just, you know, just by eyeball for the purposes of this, because I want to have something I can illustrate to Travis tomorrow for the last tweaks. Travis handles a lot of the he handles pretty much all the modeling and the laser cutting and stuff like that. So, you know, he'll cut me something, and then I'll kind of take some measurements and tweak some stuff, and then and then I'll go to him and he'll kind of tweak it, and we'll get another iteration, and then we play with it a bit, and so on and so forth. So, you know, that's all I need, like right there. Get my handy dandy vinyl cutters, aka skizzers. Just mark it right there. Looks like everybody's falling asleep. I don't blame you. Don't blame you one bit. Fortunately, I'm not lucky enough to have a significant other here to man my camera switching and my commentary making, so we just do it the old-fashioned way, right? Wide awake, 9:12. Well, yes, that's true, Ben. That's true. I make the. It's very assuming of me to just say, hey, everybody is where I am. It's the beauty of the internet, right? I get access to people all around the world, and we're happy to have you. See my very scientific method of measuring here. Trust me, the produced ones are far better than this. But it's late, I'm tired, and it doesn't really matter if these are perfectly any of that stuff right now. Could you not CNC cut the vinyl with a blade? I don't know the answer to that, Eddie. I don't have experience as much with CNC. It's not. The problem is it's a little bit flimsy, so that will kill you. PVC is a no-no on laser cutters. But again, also the issue is because it's kind of like, it doesn't lay flat. Audio attack? Oh, sorry guys. My bad. I'll try to be more gentle. Basically heard none of that. Okay. Yeah, hold on a second. Sorry, I'm not monitoring my own audio, so is it more gentle now? Was I getting too robust? Was I jiggling stuff in front of it? Anyway, what I was saying was Eddie had asked if we could CNC mill it, and I said I don't know the answer to that. It seems like it's thin and flimsy enough. Okay, sorry about that, guys. That I'm not entirely sure how you would jig it to hold steady. The stuff I've been looking at is more like textile manufacturing stuff, where there's like large plotter style cutters that one might use for fabric, and it's basically the same thing. It's a big plotter table. It looks like a laser cutter really, but it's using like a physical blade, and not too dissimilar to the vinyl cutters that are used for like making vinyl decals and labels and wrap kits for your car, because I know you all out there pimping your car with the carbon fiber vinyl adhesive kits. So you get to see here firsthand how this is all constructed. And some of these are actually changing to, I think I was telling you, riv nuts. So instead of having some exposed nuts on them, there'll be stuff that's like flush seated. A riv nut's like kind of like a threaded insert style thing, for those of you who are not aware. I'm sure you're all aware. Sorry if I'm patronizing you guys. There's a couple of things like where these magnets are and where the lids stay, is that there's kind of a critical amount of clearance that don't allow for the standard nylock or even just a regular nut. So the solution to that was inserts. And one of the other things I'm kind of proud of is we tried to be as mindful as possible around the design of brackets and not using any more screws or connectors than we have to, because every place there's a screw is a penetration through the box. And granted, the hole is being covered by the screw itself, so it's not like a whole lot of atmosphere is seeping through. That's interesting. Oh, it was spinning. What I was going to show you guys too is at the bottom, take that off of there. I'm not auto attacking you guys, hopefully. The nuts and stuff like were designed so that they're basically trapped inside, so you can one could. That wasn't loud. All the rollers fell out of the track. Basically, like hand loosen, and it holds the nut in place. So anyway, I was taking this taking this sandwich piece out here because I'm going to run nylon through this to basically seal up this joint and then create the hinge up here, so it's a continuous piece. I mean, theoretically, we could run the nylon like all the way kind of through the whole thing, and that would create a pretty dang good seal. Getting a little slippage here. The tolerance on this guy wasn't as good. Handy dandy needle nose in there. So we thought about running it all the way through the whole thing, but one that was just using more nylon than we needed, and it didn't seem. We're skeptical that it's providing really much more benefit. So we'll see. I'm doing testing with and without silicone sealing the joints. For here, it's kind of funny because the relative humidity stays around like 30-35% generally. We definitely have more humid days than others, but like you saw my rack up there, like that stuff sits out like year round and it's fine. It's climate controlled enough in here, and it just doesn't get as humid in this part of California. So take my rollers out. Oh, another little tip we haven't really been advertising yet, but this is kind of cool. This stuff's actually chalkboard material, and you can actually like write on the faceplate which filaments you have on the inside, or notes, or whatever. You could even take the plate off and scribble on the inside. You could draw yourself some nice little pictures on it. So not sure how functional that'll be for people, but just kind of cool. And the white one is whiteboard material, so you could do the same thing with a dry erase pen. All right, so basically this is the joint that this is going to sit in. So we determined that basically 5 holes like across the bar here give us enough clamping force to get a nice good grab and seal here. So that's what we went with. Great minds. I think I must have missed your earlier comment, but yes, I'm sure we do think alike, eh? Should just get it off. All right. Thanks for stopping by, Imagination to Form. So what I'm going to do first is I'll just use these two. I'm just going to run the drill through the hole and bolt those. This is a little bit lazy, so I'm probably just going to drill it in an angle here since oh, I don't think I trimmed this all the way down to 18. That's part of the problem. Good start to the day. I'll tell you what, I'm really happy about the fact that I started putting that printer belt together because it motivated me to finally clean up the workbench in here. I'd been working a lot more at like the kitchen table, but then that was kind of a pain because every time I was done, I'd have to like clear all that stuff off because we eat at the kitchen table. Scientific method of punching holes in vinyl. One of the cool things about the vinyl though, and the punch setup that I was talking about, so I was just using a scratch awl. I'm gonna make that thing sealed, spray the inside with Flex Seal. Yeah, that would definitely do it. That would definitely, maybe just rhino line the inside of it, Eddie. What do you think of that? Make it nice and durable. That's freaking Texas, right? Ooh, kind of grabs in there, and again, not that it's really that much of an air incursion point, but it definitely helps with the sealing. Every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. Take this piece here. On this episode of How It's Made, we put together a RepBox. So, last night's fun was I was basically having to take measurements for like every size nut and bolt that goes into this so that we can start the build manual and making sure we have all the parts sourced that we need. So that was fun. And be surprised like how many little nuts, you know, kind of adds up, and a lot of fun in going into product development and picking what materials you're using and seeing what impact that's going to have on the ultimate cost of things. Get my nut in there. Let's get this all the way through first. Yeah, so the downside of going to the living hinge configuration was that the assembly takes a little bit longer, but I think it's worth the trade-off. I don't think people are really necessarily sure, the ease of assembly is always nice. It's not like it's a difficult assembly to do. It's pretty straightforward and intuitive, but you know, the trade-off being that you've got a much better airtight, I don't like using that term, but you get the idea, more environmentally sealed, friendly option, maybe? I don't know. So Eddie, why are you always up so late, man? Night owl. It's even later where you are. There's some shavings out of there. Maybe I lost you. Oh, wait. Sleep 3 to 4 hours a night. Jeez, what are you, some sort of cybernetic being? That sounds terrible. I mean, that happens to me a lot too, but not really by choice. You know, I put myself on these deadlines sometimes when I'm either doing web development or some project like this where we're like really trying to get it out. 3 to 4 hours a night, man. Yeah. Rover's with you too. I guess I got the insomniac crowd with me right now. Except for Ben, he's chipper, 9 a.m. in the UK. Ben, where I didn't see. Did Ben say he was leaving? I thought I might have saw him say it was a good way to start the day, thinking maybe he was off to something else, which is totally fine. But Ben, if you're still with me, tell me where in the UK you are. Hand tightening. Oh, he didn't say. Well, you know, he's probably poking in somewhere else as well too. That's all good. All good. You can always chat with him later. Eddie, what's the relative humidity in Houston right now? I'm sure you're just like, it's just humid. No audio now? Really? How can that be? You know, that's the downside. Like, I don't have my mixer set up or anything, so I can't even monitor myself. Eddie says he has audio. Turn off your mute. I think Ben must have muted me. Or maybe there's something going on with the CDN on the other side of the pond. Must be you, huh? But you've got audio on other things on your computer? Interesting. Never heard of that before. Let us know if it comes back or if it doesn't come back. Do I need to call my my rep at YouTube? 90% humidity, is that all? Gen Lux is very cool so far. Cool, man. I mean, it looks really nice. Okay, now he's got the audio back. I was just asking you earlier, man, where in the UK are you? Oh, video froze for a bit. No audio, no video. Never know what you're gonna get. I mean, it's streaming from my phone, and the ISP around here is not known to be the greatest, so I'm not super surprised. They've cut the hard line. I don't have a hard line on the phone. That's all right. Roughing it. Hopefully by the time I wake up in the morning, the computer will be up and going again with my restore. That's the annoying thing about the way that
I'm not sure.
Nobody's talking to you. Actually, I said the wake word. Accent is broad. I think I missed a response. Live chat. West Yorkshire. 2.5 hours north of London by train. 1 hour from Manchester. It is broad. I almost thought, third most humid city in the States. So Eddie, so if the seal kit works there, it'll work anywhere, huh? What are the first two most humid cities in the United States? Where do I need to really torture test these things? 75% average year round. So what are you doing with your stuff now? It's got to be ziplocked or sealed or dry boxed year round, I'm assuming. New Orleans and Jacksonville. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know any makers in New Orleans or Jacksonville. I'm sure they exist. I'm surprised I haven't come across. I've come across people from I want to say almost every state. But I can't say that the South gets as good a representation. All right, so let's drill the other holes for this. So they'll of course be laser cut in the final, but this is still part of the prototyping process. Get this chucked in a little bit further. I might actually be able to. I wish I had my smaller drill with me. That's okay though. Is that too loud? Sorry guys. Right up against my lav. Fun thing, every time we do an iteration, it seems like 3 steps forward, 1 step back. We adjust the holes where something is, and we completely erase or forget to put something back in another one. So, Travis loves me where I'm like, hey, move this here, now move it back, now move it there again. I'm sure it feels like that sometimes, although I live it every day too with web development stuff. Lived until you just listen to people tell you to move things. It feels like you're just rearranging furniture all the time. Eddie, what are your thoughts on MDF as a material for a box like this? So it's nice for lasering, and we picked it over just the birch that you see like with a lot of stuff because it's more consistently flat. 90 Fahrenheit in Vegas, so you got the heat in Vegas, but the humidity, not so much. Not so much. And frankly, I would much rather be in a dry heat than a moist heat. Moisture, humidity just stinks, man. I remember getting off the plane. So my mom's family's all in Maryland. We'd go back there for vacation every year, and it would be like, get off the plane, and it felt like you just like hit a wall of humidity. The MDF will be an interesting test. Wood warps here really badly. Yeah, so it's a two-sided MDF, which is good because the stuff that often you see at the Home Depot is like it's like got a finish on one side, but then it's kind of like rough on the other. I mean, it's all pressed, but the nice thing about kind of having a finish on both sides is it like really doesn't have the same opportunity to wick. That's not saying that it won't, but I'm curious how it's going to hold up over time. I don't think it's going to warp. I mean, it's pretty clamped together, in the joints and stuff like that. There's not really a lot of room for it to warp. It's not like it's going to be subject to any kind of twisting or whatnot. I suppose the one thing I'm curious about is what weight on this base plate over time will do, but these are all jigged into the back pieces and the side, and then it's got the vinyl supporting it on the front, so we'll see. Top my CNC stand is MDF. Humidity is a little higher than my whole bones are hurting. Live chat. The top of my CNC stand is MDF, and it was sitting in the garage for 3 months and was bowed in the middle when I cut it and installed it before sitting it down. Tap, tap, tap. Double tap? How do I make it come back? Oh, I can just drag my finger. That's interesting. Hey, I learned something. Apparently if I touch and drag, it'll show up and it'll move. Let's see. Bowed. Interesting. Well, double-sided cover might help. Chris, Practical Printing, was suggesting, he's like, well, if it was shellacked. I'm like, yeah, could be. I just don't know how much it's worth, having to shellac every piece of these things. Ultimately, I'd like to move to probably like an acrylic-only option, or maybe like an ABS or some other thermoplastic that is certainly going to give a better seal and more consistency, but every material has its interesting challenges. The alu poly stuff that's like kind of the sandwiched aluminum and wax. Yeah, you could wax it for sure. The stuff that Ultimaker uses for their panels is like the hybrid poly aluminum and ABS on the inside. Like it's more pricey and stuff, but it kind of affords some interesting opportunity with production and stuff like that. It has to be CNC'd, but durability wise and whatnot, it's pretty cool. Max. It's kind of what side does it, right? So the glue plus laminate actually should hold up better. Yeah. Well, I guess we're gonna see, huh? Okay. It's hard when I feel like I'm getting like part of the chat. I wish I really could like watch that a little bit closer. But then I'm gonna be up forever and not actually get what I need to get done. So that, yeah. Are you printing as well, Pooch? So right now I'm actually not printing. I've had that Up Mini running all day though. I am generally printing. I actually ran some of the famous Repcord Purple Haze earlier, and I did some lithophanes with it, and because where it shines is really kind of that thinner walled translucent stuff, you know, and it looks really cool using it for lithophanes. I really like that thin wall application on the semi-translucent filaments like that. And I'm also actually doing a pink, a semi-translucent pink. Did you see the model I sent? Let's see. Did I see the model I sent that you were thinking of printing with it? No, I didn't. When did you send that? Recently? Doing a benchy, man. Doing a benchy in Regal Violet next gen right now. It's looking sweet. That's cool, man. I'm sure. I hope you post some pictures so we can all see it. Or are you saving up for the review? Would you say you put it on Twitter, Eddie? You know I don't do Twitter. Yeah, I do Twitter. I do a lot of Twitter. Will do. No, I will post photos. I have lots to print. Oh, good. Okay, let's see. Yeah, earlier on Twitter. All right, I'll look in the backlog later on, Eddie, and I'll see what you're thinking. Let's see here. There's my baggy o stuffs. Arc de Triomphe. Wow. Fancy. You fancy, Ben. Ben, when you come across the pond, man, you said you were coming to LA next year. That's a while. Next year's a while from now. What are you doing in LA? Oh, I'm fancy. I am fancy. You know, Ben, but I own it. I'm not feeling very fancy right now. I'm feeling a little tired and hot and sweaty. We've had a run of triple digits, and the problem is it's just not cooling off at night here the way it usually does. So, you know, it was like 101 today at the high, and that's gonna be 103 tomorrow. What's that in centigrade? Somebody do the math for me. We don't do the Celsius here for temperature. 40? It's like 40 C. Is that right? That's a diamond black. We'll be there next year. Still scheduling it with the family. I'll let you know. Cool. Cool. Yeah, man. Definitely. If you're going to be in California, especially, there's no part in California you could be that is not accessible, pretty easily accessible. I mean, I split my time between San Diego and a little place called Auburn, California, which is actually like north up by Lake Tahoe in the foothills. I live out in the woods, and I love it. Sometimes I love it. And then I'm in the Bay Area a lot too for work. So a lot more travel these days, but it's been kind of nice. It's a good distraction. I like it in a way. Diamond black looks great. Cool, man. So that Lux. Excuse me. Oh, it was probably super loud. Sneezed right into the lavalier. I hope you guys were ready for that. All right. It's like putting a puzzle together sometimes, right? This is me being a little bit lazy here because I already clamped the L brackets back together. So the best way to assemble this I've found is to actually start with a side panel, put your other side panels kind of together around vertically, and then you tighten it all in the base, and then you add the side panel at the top, and then you tighten the clamps on there. Not too terrible. And then you do what I'm doing now. So there's a sandwich layer. So this is like actually a double layer here. So there's the base plate, and then there's these individual pieces that create the track and add reinforcement for the rollers to sit on. And this all has to be laser cut because the tolerance is pretty tight on the tracking, and if it's too loose, you don't want it to like twist, so it stays nice. And working on coming up with a piece that maybe can allow you to kind of like press and lock it into place, because really once you set it for most spool configurations, you're probably not going to change it, but you don't really even need to lock it. It's pretty firm in place wherever you set it. So I'm happy with how that turned out. I've not actually ever printed with any color fab stuff. No, that's not true. I did run some color fab, like some XT, I think, at the Makerspace I used to be part of. Quality is so good. Huh. Where is color fab produced, Ben? Is that I want to say it's like, is it like a Netherlands or a Sweden or a, it's definitely European. Netherlands, yes. Nailed it. All right, so we got that piece on, and we got this, and so we're gonna slide the sandwich for this on. Get a nice seal in there. Oh, that feels good. Feels good. A little bend going here. There we go. All right. Look at that. It's alive. It's a live, living hinge. Guess where I got the inspiration for the living hinge, guys? Who can guess? Yeah, I've really been wanting to learn more Fusion 360 and stuff too. I'm still on Tinkercad. I do a lot. I actually can do quite a bit with Tinkercad, and it's come a long ways. But I keep saying like I want to learn Fusion 360 now, and just how much design stuff I'm doing. But honestly, for a lot of these things, like I can whip this up in Tinkercad in like 2 minutes, which probably sounds funny. But sometimes it's like seriously one of the best tools for the job. Just punching our holes here, making a sandwich for the hinge. Bag of hardware. Got some 12 mils for those following along at home. I think I'm gonna go like this. I haven't decided if I want to do rib nuts here. So the rib nuts I have like basically will fit almost like perfectly between two of these. This is like just under 5 millimeter thick MDF. It's 3/16. And I just really like the way they look. Just not having an exposed nut here. Not that it's really a big deal. And I don't think anybody would really care probably but me, but I don't know. Like I said, I kind of an attention to detail thing. Like I feel like the small things, like just kind of having all the tools you need, to put stuff together with. I think that stuff goes a long way toward kind of giving a feel of like quality and thoughtfulness around a thing. No way is good in Fusion, but getting better. It's all about grouping. That's right. It's all about booleans, baby. Love booleans. It is all about that. I also love this Bondus driver, man. These ball drivers, oh man, that's so key. I'll tell you how much I'm off axis on my tightening all the time. For a non-precise individual like myself, accept no substitutes. Yes, I mean, like, these things are just super clamped down. It's not like this is going anywhere. We got a nice seal now inside the box. So my plan is here, just once I get this one together, actually, I'm gonna, I'll probably silicone seal this one, and then I'm gonna start my testing on how airtight this thing actually can stay. I think it's gonna be pretty good. I think. What I'm curious about is how much the MDF breathes. Just designed a plaque. Is the hinge design the freezer doors from Walmart? No. No, but that's a good guess. Actually, the hinge design came to me. I have a golf cart, and the golf cart has one of those folding windows at the front, and it uses a living hinge on the front, and it's basically like 2 pieces of polycarb that just kind of sit in like these U channels with like a vinyl. I think it's just a complete vinyl thing, and I kind of looked at that as well, like kind of just creating a little, you know, sandwich, but like the cost of that, getting a pre-molded part and stuff like that was just ridiculous, and we were really trying to keep the cost down so that it's, you know, reasonable and compelling enough, you know, for storing your stuff. But the convenience factor on this thing, man, it's been just like a game changer for me. Like, and I like that I can just kind of move it around and hang it on the wall above the printers and, you know, not really worry about it. So like I said, I think my PLA's out, but, you know, I don't want to have to keep drying my pet G's and my nylons and stuff like that. So, you know, if nothing else, Travis and I are like, well, we know we'll use these just for organizing our own stuff and making it look good. And, you know, like most good ideas, like it kind of born of necessity, and yeah, I said, heck, let's just do it. Do it! Asked by a couple of people like why we didn't try to kickstart it, and I've never actually kickstarted a project. I mean, it seemed to me like, I mean, right now the cost of entry isn't terrible. You know, I just figured I'd rather try to bootstrap it out of my own pocket. Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to move that. These are the things we learn. So in this version where the sealing bar, whatever we're calling this piece, like doesn't exist like this, on the original version the magnet was right up against this wall, and so this bottom bolt didn't sit right up against it. I can't get the nut around it because it's literally like right against the wall there. So more notes for Travis, things to move, but that's not a big deal. We'll just slide that over about 5-6 millimeters and we're good to go. No biggie. No biggie. Same problem over there though, so. And then there were 3. We're down to you guys. Rover, I got my Rover, I got Ben, and I got Eddie. That's my guess who my 3s are. Oh wait. Oh, now we're up to 5. We picked up some more. Picked up some more RepBox fans along the way. If you're just tuning in, welcome. We are doing some testing, some assembly of the latest prototype of the RepBox. Coming at you from my phone, because my poor laptop is out of commission at the moment due to some unfortunate abuse by me earlier. But never fear, it should be all better by morning. Alright, so let's bolt this thing back together. So that's the back plate. Oh geez. Okay. Apparently I didn't cut my nylon quite long enough. That's okay. It'll get there. Barely. Huh. Dang it. That's frustrating. Looks like I'm going to be recutting a piece tomorrow. I mean, really, this thing only needs to be able to drop down like this anyway, so it'll grab for that for now. So I'll poke the holes for that, just like this. It was silly of me though. I should have left a little bit more room. 2 a.m. for catch-up time. Didn't quite catch that, Ben. Let me see. Hope I can make catch up. 2 a.m. I think so. You'd have to look it up. It's 7 p.m. Pacific time, Pacific Daylight Time. So I'm not sure what that ends up being in GMT. Are you guys GMT? I think you are. You do have the Greenwich there. Huh. Interesting. Making a mess. 2 a.m. Yeah, sorry, ketchup is not very friendly for our friends in the UK. Not very considerate of that time zone. But unfortunately, it is one of the few times we can do it based on my kid's schedule and other considerations. How long is it on? We usually go a little over an hour right now. We've gotten to the point though where we're getting so many submissions that we're having to be a bit more selective, and we still want to try to include everybody, so we tend to run a little bit longer. I don't know. Yeah, get up and then go back to bed. Yeah, that's not a bad way to do it. That's how a lot of us over here handle watching the World Cup when it's in Russia. Ruskies. I'm gonna finish drilling these holes and then I'll do that part. A little poker. You know what? For the purposes of this, I'm just gonna drill some new holes. Don't worry, not gonna drill into my finger. Thankfully, it's marine grade vinyl, so it's pretty hefty, even with a little hole in it. Not drill into my hand, please. that. And so the final version will all be pre-punched and everything. It'll be nice for people putting it together at home once we determine where everything needs to be. But for now, we just drill as needed. Alright, so we need a little bit of nylon there. Start making a sandwich. Alright, I'm going to get this thing on and then I'm going to hit the sack because I got to get up early with the kiddos. And it's already 2 a.m. 2 a.m. somewhere, huh? Right here it is. Clamp that into place. See what you said there, Rover. Scroll. Yes, I do use OBS, and yes, it is pretty easy to use, and yes, I highly recommend it. Am I in need of a new computer? I am. I think the one I've got is on its last legs. I was waiting for the new version for the. I have a MacBook Pro. I'm a web developer by day. And I do a lot of cross-browser testing, and so it's very useful for me to have a Mac platform so that I can test easily on both Mac stuff and PC. It works. I've had to replace the RAM twice now, but it's starting to get a little long in the tooth for sure. So I'll probably be looking at getting a new Mac at some point. I have a bunch of PCs and stuff too from various things, though. I work both interfaces. Wow, boy, did I really mess that up. Put that in the wrong hole. That's. Yeah, I know, Eddie, that's what she said. No. It's late night and I'm getting punchy, so I say stuff like that. Sorry. Hope there's no kids watching. At least I checked it before I bolted all the rest on. Why, Rover, you got a computer you're looking to move? Looking to get rid of? Should have known that didn't seem to fit quite right. Fumbling. Sweat like a dog. Why don't we do this? Now that we know that's where I want it to be, I'm just going to stick it on there. Get lined up. Adhesive on this is actually pretty good. I'd rather not have to receive it. Look at that. Very nice. Custom squeegee. Shower squeegee. It's good to know if the RepBox doesn't work out. You got computer giveaways going. Well, I'll tell you what, I am trying to put together a new streaming box. I was just gonna cobble something together with some of the old parts I got around here, but yeah, send me a list. I want to see what you giving away. Ugh, dying here. All right. Only if I want them. I don't know. Sounds nice. Sounds like I might want them. Okay, can't do that quite yet because it's not inside there. It's okay though. Alright. Apparently I did not measure correctly for this. Truth is, I could probably just unbolt these and slide it up a little and I'd have more to work with, but I didn't, so I don't. And that'll work, so I guess let's just drill through that again and set it and yeah, it's Pooch, Pooch at repcord.com. That's my email. Everybody feel free to email me. I love emails, especially spam. I love spam. Who's looking through spam? Doot. Ah, Benchy's done. Okay. Let's see. Participating giveaways, 3D printers, laptop desk, gift cards. Oh, wow. Windows PC. Awesome. Does it have like a does it have a full Windows license on it? All right, because that's the thing that's a real drag. Like every time I seem to have to build a new system, I'm like, oh, I gotta drop another 100 on getting a Windows license. Would be awesome though, dude, if I got my new streaming rig sponsored by somebody. Be pretty cool. Pretty cool. So we got these handy dandy, what do we call them, dome stickers? You know, those like the fancy stickers where they got kind of like an epoxy finish over the top of them, make the product look nice and clean. But I found just like you could get just the epoxy piece and put it over like just a regular sticker. So found some of those on Amazon just to, you know, play with the look. But apparently those ones, like the adhesive is so poor they just kind of like start to peel off by themselves over time. So it's always good that you test these things ahead of time. Okay, I'll go to your channel later and I'll check it out. Dude, Eddie, can you get me a builder's license? Because that would be rad. We're building a rig for the ketchup. So ketchup's gonna have its own. There's a production value on that's getting pretty beefy, actually. Get a bunch of lighting, pro sound. We've been lucky to have some really good sponsors for that. So we're trying to up our game a little. And so we got a dedicated rig for that so that we're not like messing with Travis's stuff over there. Sweet. I'll hit you up later for that. That would be awesome. That would be super helpful. It's really nice actually having a dedicated rig for that stuff. Like I'm realizing too, having run everything off my laptop, that I don't want I don't really want to deal with that. Like, one, it just like makes my fan like throttle, you know, like turbo mode all the time, which is like noisy on my laptop. Plus, like if I'm doing something else, I don't want to deal with, you know, having to move it around to stream. I mean, it's kind of cool that it's portable and whatnot, and in a pinch, you know, you can totally do it, but I think just having a little rig here, a little mini ITX box or something like that. Got a couple of ideas for things I'd probably do. Probably try to mount it under here, you know, USB hub, some power. That'd go a long way. Oh, shoot, that's right. That's backwards. Windows 10 Pro. Because we all need the Pro version, I know. So this is a spot right here that we had to use a riv nut that I don't have with me right now, so I'm just going to flip this around. Basically, the mount is hitting the magnet, and this is actually the part that is going to hold the metal piece here. So I still have to reconfigure this a little bit, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to drill this. Don't tell anyone. I want to drill into my workbench though. Stuff's pretty soft. It's gonna start spinning and whack my finger, I'm sure. Should know better, but I don't. Ha! Cheated death again. Oh, that's hot. Ta-da! That's how we fabricate on the spot. All right. Yeah, I did just do a pee-wee laugh, isn't that great? This is my hackish solution right now, but you know what? That's what we do. We employ hackish solutions at 2 a.m. in the name of just getting it done. Probably could stand to be a longer bolt as well, but it'll compress nicely and won't hang off this way. I have to come up with something better for this. Like, I mean, it works. This mag catch just seems a little bit hokey and overkill. The cool thing though is like, so you can get in tight here if you're looking. So this is adjustable so that, you know, we wanted to get this dialed in, and then the piece of sealing right here for this piece, you know, I wanted to get it dialed so that we get just enough compression not to hold it in place, and so when the other magnet's holding in, that should be just about perfect. Right now it's not quite lining up, like the screw is like hitting, so I just need to give some thought. Can't see what I'm pointing at. That screw's like kind of hitting this magnet, so I just need to make sure that that's lined up better, but because I was hand drilling this, that's not quite right. Anyway, these are the joys of the gig. Should probably just move that over to where it needs to be so that it works. Looks like it's gotta go like, probably, oh, I don't know, 2 millimeters that way. Can't see the top of my head. Not that you really want to, but there you go. So Eddie, what are you working on right now that's got you up so late? You printing something or are you doing other work? Awesome, thanks for hanging out, Ben. I don't know if it's a great stream, but it's happening. So anyway, thanks for stopping by, man. Always good chatting with you. Okay, right. Very scientific form of measurement right there. All right. Do this on the other side, and then that's it. I'm wrapping it up. Yeah? Getting that ender dialed. That's awesome, dude. Can't wait to see all that. People love that ender. Probably hard not to for how inexpensive it is, huh? Good bang for your buck. Is it the CR10 killer for bang for buck wise? Sure seems like it. I remember Press Reset doing like a review of like the original ender and how much he was not a fan. But you know, given that we're at version 3 now, should hope that they've got that kind of figured out at this point, right? Hoorah! Hoorah! Alright. What am I hitting now? Oh. Bump the magnet back. No, I'm just hitting the other side. Well, whatever. Get the idea. I mean, it's not like this is under a lot of stress anyway. This is held shut, and get the magnet right, and then the lid will sit on top, and when it's closed, it stays put nicely. This is silly, just need to get these measurements figured out better, but I will. What if I should just do this other one down here so like the mag when it grabs, you know, like that thing's solid when it grabs well, but there we go. Yeah, we'll just do this. Put it at the very bottom, drill through there, then we know it's grabbing everything it needs to grab. I guess technically it's not grabbing the weather stripping on this configuration, but the adhesive will hold it there. Obviously know the placement. Will need to be modified. Alright, Ender 3 is a pretty good printer for the price. New version, yes, there are 2 versions, and it pisses me off. It has a removable plate and a few other corrections. So you have 3, and the other versions are not the same, like they're not just earlier iterations? I'm confused. There's like an Ender 3, but in current production that's different from the Ender 3 you have, is what you're saying. Yay or nay? Another spot for a riv nut. Your Ender 3 is like the first run. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people had like a CR10 that was like a first run that had like a plastic. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, but they don't change it. It's still the Ender 3, but it's like a 3A or a 3.1 or something like that. That is kind of annoying because you have no idea what you're getting. If you're getting like the latest revision. I really wish they did some better numbering conventions for stuff like that. There we go. That feels good. I just need those there so that doesn't look like it's all warpy, and like I said, that'll be it for tonight. Which is good because I think I've lost just about everybody anyway. It seems like we get more people poking in. Let's see. Ordered yours less than a month ago. Yeah, that's annoying, man. What are you gonna do right now? What are you gonna do? You're gonna complain about it online. Just like any other good creator, online creator. You fancy yourself a creator, Eddie? You create. Man, it'd be nice to get back to doing some more of that printer belt. Actually, gonna take that on my Pacific Northwest trip with me. I think I mentioned that. I'm gonna go by the proto plant, see my buddy Tinkers and Alex and all the other proto pasta peeps, and we're gonna head up and see Joel. I'm going to a family reunion. See some friends. Gonna go to the Portland Brew Fest. It's gonna be a good trip. Good trip. Okay. Like here. It needs like one up above and one below. Last screw, then bed. I know I'm so close. I could have just put the acrylic on right now, but I'm wiped. I am wiped. I'm starting to get that little headache in the back of the head from being kind of dehydrated and stuff too. That's no good. No bueno. Need my sleep. Haven't been getting enough of it lately. Bad things happen to you when you don't sleep enough. Bad things. Start to ramble a lot. I do that anyway, but this is interesting. I feel like I'm seeing a little bit of a twist here. So like it's compressing the EDPM, but a little like unevenly. Might be worth doing a couple more screws here just to get a more consistent grip. But you know, the other thing is too, the nylon stripping isn't consistent in where it's grabbing and stuff. So anyway, it's latching, which is nice. I'm gonna put that where it needs to be. Nylon's actually not kind of cattywampus right there. You are a builder that streams some stuff and starting YouTube stuff, so you have something to do with Isabella. Hey, you know what? That's honestly, it's an awesome thing to do with kids. The kids love it. Before my divorce, we did a lot more stuff on here with my kids, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Fix this here real quick. On the fly fabrication at its finest. It's gonna feel nice though. How old's Isabella now, Eddie? Yeah, I prefer streaming myself because I just don't have the time to spend on video editing anymore. I did a lot of editing in my day, but not nearly as able to time commitment wise. So, but I like streaming. It's cool. It's kind of more casual, kind of more my vibe, you know. I'm just down to sit around and hang out and chat and whatnot. Well, that feels nice. Bump this guy up so they're the same distance and it grabs on both sides. So I'm getting a good seal there. That feels good. Magnet's grabbing great on both sides. That feels really good actually, so I'm happy with that. So, you know, I'll get all these holes cleaned up and stuff like that and figure out these magnetic plates a little bit better, but I'd say for the most part it's there. So give you a quick look here what I showed you originally. So this piece will clamp on, and actually what we're doing here on this one is the way this guy will sandwich will be on the front face, so that basically the whole face of this can sit tightly against the seals here. So looks like I just need to bring the stripping down a little bit further just to cover that last bit of a gap, but that's no biggie. That's no biggie. Looks like we got more than enough room for that to open and close. And heck, where's that acrylic strip here? It's easy enough, right? Just do it. Just do it. Do it now. That goes on there like so. Once again, risking drilling through my hand. Give myself some stigmata. No way, for drilling metal on the floating in free space. I know. My shop teacher would be mortified. It's alright. He's no longer with us anyway. So... Wow, it's already been 115 minutes? I've been at this for 2 hours? Jeez. Where does the time go? go. Get that lined up. Less twists. Let's let it sit there for a second so I can drill the rest of these, and then we're done for tonight. It's never done. That's the best part about product design, right? This thing's upside down. That's okay. It's easy enough to flip. We release new versions that we can then make customers feel bad that they didn't wait a little bit longer to get, right, Mr. Ender 3? I know, rubbing it in. I'm a jerk, that's what I do. Flip it over, stay there, stay there. Actually hand drilled this piece of acrylic earlier, so it's a little funky with the lineup and stuff too. But again, for our purposes, it will be fine. Fine, fine, fine. It's funny with each prototype, I keep like kind of robbing some pieces off of one version and another. And but it's good, that way we're not like spending as much time cutting new pieces and stuff. And you know, you do what you can to fail fast, and we fail fast and hard sometimes. Fast and hard failures. Name of the game. I'm gonna get to look at the back of my arms for a second. Sorry, I know the angle's not great, but we'll get it all figured out. Cool thing about the acrylic is like you can see when it's clamping, it like kind of like creates this nice little smooth seal looking thing. Three. Looks like the hinge isn't quite consistently spaced here, but that's okay. We'll fix it in a little bit. Straighten it out. It will be for production. I guarantee. I guarantee. Oh, didn't drill that. Ha! People love that acrylic though. I've had some interesting requests too for various smoked acrylics. We're not there yet. We've got clear right now is the extent of our acrylic selection. But I'm confident we will have more options soon. One more riv nut there. All right. Yes, it's like drooping down a little bit on that side. I'm gonna tighten up that side of the hinge, but we'll get the idea. So when that's closed and locked in place, that sure hold it nice and flush. That's funny because I didn't clamp that L bracket back on there yet either. A couple little other tweaks, but I'm going to work on that some more tomorrow. Anyway, thanks for joining us. If you're still with me, if you were with me, if you're watching the replay, really excited about getting this thing out. We are super close and really happy with how this has come along. So we're going to get some testing done, see how it holds up to some humidity. I think we'll throw it in a room with a humidifier and two humidity sensors and see what the inside looks like compared to the outside. Can't post a link because you're not modded, dude. Add moderator. There, now you can. What's the link? Better be appropriate. Post any naughty links on my stream and get me demonetized, Eddie. That lid stay bolted on there too. Right there. Just put a pin in it for now. Amazon product, let's see. Is there room to mount one of those? Is it one of those rechargeable desiccant things? Because I have one. Yeah, that one looks like it might actually work on the top or the sides. The one I have here, this one's like basically a little bit too thick. But they make different kinds, and we've been toying with the idea of like creating kind of a removable tray that you could just actually like load with kitty litter or something like that. So I think there's a number of different options that, you know, we could go with. But that's in the works for now, honestly. Like, you do just fine to like throw desiccant in the bottom of it. Oops, these holes aren't the right spot, but you get the idea. So when it's open, lid will be nice and high. This will be down. It's really easy to get your filament in and out of. Ta-da! Awesome. Well, it was good hanging out with you guys. I appreciate all the commentary in the chat. I apologize for the whack addressing of comments and weird camera angle, but hey, we made it work, right? So anyway, have a good night. Get some an hour for now. Signing off.